Thank you for joining Wars of the Roses, as we continue with part 16 of Dr. R. Swinburne Clymer's Ancient Mystic Oriental Masonry. 261. A laudable thirst after knowledge prompts the youth of all ranks to aspire to the ambition of deciphering the meaning and illustration of those obscure symbols, which were said to have been communicated to the priest by the revelation from the celestial deity. Initiation was the only means of acquiring this knowledge, and it is therefore no wonder that initiation was so much in request. 262. There was also another quality of the mind which served to recommend the mysteries, that strange attachment to the marvelous by which every grade of human nature is swayed. To excite this sentiment in all its sublimity of honor, the initiations were performed at the dead of night. No severity of probation could deter the bold and determined aspirant from encountering terrors and actual dangers which led to the gratification of his curiosity, and the shades of darkness imparted vigor to the passion which looked forward to a recompense of such an exalted nature. 263. In the old lectures it is said, "He that is truly squared, well polished, uprightly fixed, is qualified to be a member of our most honorable society. He that trusteth such a person with any engagement is freed from all the trouble and anxieties about the performance of it, for he is faithful to his trust. His words are the breathings of his heart, and he is an utter stranger to deceit." 264. In the mysteries of India, the aspirant was invested with a consecrated sash or girdle, which he was directed to wear next to his skin. It was manufactured with many mysterious ceremonies and said to possess the power of preserving the wearer from personal danger. It consisted of a cord composed of 3 times 3 threads twisted together and fastened at the end with a knot, and was called zinar. Hence our cable tow. It was an emblem of their trinity, the remembrance of whom we also preserve in many of our symbols. 265. The rite of discalceation, or uncovering of the feet on approaching holy ground, is derived from the Latin word discalceare, to pluck off one's shoes. The usage has the prestige of antiquity and universal in its favor. 266. That it not only very generally prevailed, but that its symbolic significance was well understood in the days of Moses. We learn from that passage of Exodus where the angel of the Lord, at the burning bush, exclaims to the patriarch, "Draw not nigh hither, put off thy shoes from thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground." Clark thinks it is from this command that all the Eastern nations have derived the custom of performing all their acts of religious worship with bare feet. But it is much more probable that the ceremony was in use long anterior to the circumstances of the burning bush, and that the Jewish lawgiver at once recognized it as a well-known sign of reverence. 267. Bishop Patrick entertains this opinion and thinks that the custom was derived from the ancient patriarchs and was transmitted by a general tradition to succeeding times. 268. The direction of Pythagoras to his disciples was in these words, "Offer sacrifices and worship with thy shoes off." 269. The Mohammedans, when about to perform their devotions, always leave their slippers at the door of the mosque. The Druids practiced the same custom whenever they celebrated their sacred rites, and the ancient Peruvians are said always to have left their shoes at the porch when they entered the magnificent temple consecrated to the worship of the sun. 270. Adam Clark thinks that the custom of worshiping the deity barefooted was so general among all nations of antiquity that he assigns it as one of his 13 proofs that the whole human race has been derived from one family. 271. The rite of discalceation is therefore a symbol of reverence. It signifies in the language of symbolism that the spot which is about to be approached in this humble and reverential manner is consecrated to some holy purpose. 272. Into the Master Mason's Lodge. the Holy of Holies of the Masonic Temple, where the solemn truths of death and immortality are inculcated. The aspirant on entering should purify his heart from every contamination, and remember, with a due sense of their symbolic application, those words that once broke upon astonished ears of the old patriarch: "Put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground." 273. In ancient initiation, the candidate was never permitted to enter on the threshold of the temple or sacred cavern in which the ceremonies were to be conducted, until, by the most solemn warning, he had been impressed with the necessity of caution, secrecy, and fortitude. 274. The prohibition of a candidate in ancient times embraced many important particulars, but principally his fortitude and constancy were severely tried by the application of sometimes an iron instrument heated red hot, at others the point of a sword or other sharp weapon, while he himself was deprived of all means of defense and protection. 275. Freemasonry is a system based upon the knowledge and acknowledgement of God, who is the creator of the world and the author and giver of every good and perfect gift, the vehicle which has brought down from the antediluvian world the primitive religion of man. It must not, however, be mistaken for a religious sect, although it embraces that universal system in which all men agree, while the infidel and atheist are excluded because they perform the dangerous alternative of disbelieving the divine existence. 276. The successful probationer, at the expiration of his novitiate, was brought forth into the caverns of initiation, where he entered on the point of a sword presented to his left breast, by which he was slightly wounded, and then he was ritually prepared for the approaching ceremony. He was crowned with olive, anointed with oil of ban, and armed with enchanting armor by his guide, who was the representative of Simorg, a monstrous griffin, and an important agent in the machinery of Persian mythology, and furnished with talismans that he might be ready to encounter all the hideous monsters raised up by the dives to impede his progress to perfection. Induced into an inner apartment, he was purified with fire and water, and solemnly put through the 7 stages of initiation. From the precipice where he stood, he beheld a deep and dangerous vault into which a single false step might precipitate him down to the throne of dreadful necessity, which was an emblem of those infernal regions through which he was about to pass. Threading the circuitous mazes of the gloomy cavern, he was soon awakened from his trance of thought by seeing the sacred fire, at intervals, flash through its recesses to illuminate his path, sometimes bursting from beneath his feet, sometimes descending on his head in a broad sheet of white and shadowy flame. Amidst the admiration thus inspired, his terror was excited by the distant yelling of ravenous beasts, the roaring of lions, the howling of wolves, the fierce and threatening barking of dogs, etc. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment. And please consider donating to Wars of the Rosies. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description below. Thank you so much. Put off thy shoe. Put off thy shoes from thy feet. Put off thy shoes from thy feet. For the place which put off thy shoes from thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground.